Welcome to Catholic Connects Worldwide. Please subscribe to our channel.
Before we can walk through the story of God's merciful love for the human race, we need to have some knowledge of what divine mercy actually means. The phrase presents us with a semantic problem right from the start. After all, the word mercy in contemporary English has a very restricted meaning. It is usually used to refer to an act of pardon, as in, let me off, judge, have mercy, or he threw himself on the mercy of the court. In the Catholic tradition of theology, however, mercy means more than just the cancellation of punishment, far more than that. Divine mercy is God's love reaching down to meet the needs and overcome the miseries of his creatures. The Bible, the teachings of St. Thomas Aquinas, and Pope John Paul II all assure us that this is so. The Old Testament provides us with many images of human misery and of God in his mercy seeking to relieve it. One of most poignant images of such misery is that of a woman suffering the aching loneliness of having no husband and no children, of being completely bereft in the world. This is the spiritual plight of all of us without God. It was used by the Old Testament prophets to signify Israel being reduced to utter misery because of her sins and unfaithfulness to the Lord. But this is not the end of the story. The Lord Yahweh himself has compassion on the woman by marrying her and making her fruitful. He reaches down to the woman in her misery and raises her up. Where there was only despair, loneliness, and heartache come joy, fruitfulness, and abiding love. An inspiring example of such steadfast divine love relieving human misery is found in the Old Testament prophet known as 2nd Isaiah. As he writes, he is encouraging the Jews who are exiles in Babylon not to give up hope that God in his compassion will deliver them. In the New Testament, the Greek word that is usually translated as mercy is the word eleos. It can also be translated as loving kindness or tender compassion. The Greek word comes from a root word meaning oil that is poured out. Thus, when the Church sings in her liturgy the Greek words Kyrie eleison and Christi eleison, she is praying that the merciful love of God will be poured out upon her children, like holy oil from above. According to the ancient fathers of the Church herself was born from the wounded side of Christ, when out of his heart there poured out blood and water, symbolic of all the graces of the two chief sacraments, baptism and the Eucharist, John 19 verse 34. In short, eleos is God's love poured out upon his people. In the Latin tradition, the principal word for mercy is misericordia, which means, literally, miserable heart. Father George Kosicki, CSB, the great divine mercy evangelist, once summed up the meaning of this Latin word as follows. Misericordia means having a pain in your heart for the pains of others and taking pains to do something about their pain. The most comprehensive statement by the Magisterium on the meaning of divine mercy can be found in Pope John Paul II's encyclical Letter Dives in Misericordia, Rich in Mercy, 1981. In that encyclical, the Holy Father made two very important statements about mercy. First, he wrote, mercy is love's second name. Secondly, he taught that mercy is the greatest attribute of God. Let us look at each of these statements in turn. Mercy is love's second name. Here the Pope was not saying anything new. According to the Catholic theological tradition, mercy is a certain kind of love, a certain expression of love. Love in general might be defined as a sharing and giving of oneself to another, a selfless seeking of the good of another. According to the Polish theologian Ignacy Rosicki. Please subscribe to Isaac Newton's News World YouTube channel. Thanks and God bless.